What's going on, Raider Nation? Welcome and thank you for tuning in to another great episode of Commitment to Bring You Excellent Podcast. I am Raider Glenn Diesel. How you guys feeling out there? I mean, we got the number one pick in the draft, and we can finally get a franchise quarterback. It is Fernando Mendoza season, and that's who we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on getting that franchise quarterback. You know, it's to me how I feel. It's Fernando Mania. I don't know how far you guys go back or how old you are or whatever, but like I said, for me, I'm a huge baseball fan. So back in the 1980s, there was a Fernando Venezuela that jumped on the scene as a rookie. He played for the Los Angeles Dodgers, and when he burst on the scene, it was pandemonium. I mean, it was like they termed the phrase Fernando Mania because he was just so electric, and that's how we should feel. I mean, like that's the kind of energy that Fernando Mendoza brings. I mean, if you've seen his interviews, if you see, how he conducts himself, he's full of energy. So for me, like I said, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it's Fernando Mania. And here's something for you. So that's a little some, for you guys or whatever, I'm saying. Mendoza got a theme song now, I'm saying. So Allegiant Stadium can be blasting that whenever he's coming out of the tunnel or whatever. But let's get back to the subject at hand. So there is a lot of talk about Fernando Mendoza and should the Raiders pick him? Should they not pick him? Are they ready for him? That they should trade the pick and all of that or whatever. So, I don't get why the national media and the analysts out there, why they always do that. It seems like, and I know we always get into this, it's, the hate on the Raiders, it's the Raiders or whatever. But, I'm not going to go as far as that hate on the Raiders. But I will say that whenever the Raiders are tied to something, it's a little negative. And I get it. We've been, we've been bad for 4 years since 2002. So I get it. I mean, that's kind of what's ingrained in their brain is like, we can't get it right, that we always, fail and, and this and that. But what is one way to get out of that rut? You got to have a coach. You got to have a quarterback. They go hand in hand. And we have an opportunity to get that franchise quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. But what are the things that they're saying is like they don't elaborate on everything else. All they say is the offensive line. The Raiders' offensive line was horrible. You can't put that offensive line. You can't put Mendoza behind that offensive line. You've seen what happened to Genty, putting Genty behind that offensive line. So you want to do that again with a rookie quarterback. You want to kill his confidence and stuff like that, right? And then they talk about. Then you have some that says that yes, the offensive line, but also too, he doesn't have the elite traits. That they always bring back the quarterbacks that have the elite arm and the elite athleticism and stuff like that, as the reason why, one, we shouldn't take him because of the offensive line. Two, they don't think that he's that much of a prospect, an elite prospect to go number one, which, again, give me something else besides that. Go further in your discussion on why the Raiders shouldn't take them. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, explain to me why you say the offensive line. Why do you think the offensive line was bad? Because I know the reasons, because I'm a Raider fan. I know you guys know the reasons because you're Raider fans. There's a lot of things going on for the reason why I think the offensive line had the year that they had last year, right? So if that's the case, then elaborate a little further. And then when you say that he doesn't have the athletic traits or whatever to be a number one pick, elaborate on it. Give us a little bit more on why you say that. Don't just throw that statement out there and then leave it at that. But Colin Cowherd gave us a warning and said that this was going to happen. And what they were going to be saying about Mendoza after the national championship game.
He's 3 months out from the draft as of today. He's going to be the number one pick. And people are going to pick him apart. They, believe it or not, did it with Andrew Luck. They did it with Caleb Williams. I don't like his fingernail polish. He's too emotional. Here's what we know doesn't work long-term in the NFL. Small quarterbacks. They age very quickly. Cocky quarterbacks. Johnny Manziel. Inexperienced guys that just don't get a lot of college starts. Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance. Here's 3 things that almost always work. Humble, grateful personalities. A lot of Brady and Manning. Big body that can take hits, that can move a little. He's 6'5", 225. And really, really accurate, especially in big games and in big spots.
Okay, so as you heard, Cowherd said that they're going to pick this kid apart. They always do, right? And then on top of that, you have the Raiders picking at 1. It's really going to be dissected and picked apart. So he's got a double whammy against him. But something that Colin said was that, his game, especially whenever he's, going up against, the elite talent. So versus ranked opponents, just last year versus ranked opponents, he was 5-0. He had a 77% completion percentage. He had 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. In the college football playoffs, he was 3-0. He completed 74.6% percentage of his passes. He had 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. So when the lights were brighter and the games were more, like tougher, he produced, right? He came to play, and he put his big boy pants on. You know what I'm saying? And rose to the occasion. Like he said, like Colin said, he's accurate. He basically make all the throws. He's prototypical. He's 6'5", 225. So he's got the ideal size. But what I like about Mendoza is something that we've struggled with for years. You can go all the way back to the Gruden 2.0 era, where we just absolutely sucked in the red zone. Okay, our red zone offense was horrible. So in the 2 years with Fernando Mendoza, this is his numbers: 37 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the red zone. So let me say that again. In the last 2 years, 37 passing touchdowns, 8 rushing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So again, you have a team that struggles in that area and has struggled in that area for 10 plus years. And now we finally get a quarterback that he thrives in that. So he's a big game quarterback that can make all the throws. He's one of 6 quarterbacks in college football history to win a Heisman Trophy and win a national championship. He took a Indiana team that was a basketball team or basketball state. They're known for basketball. Okay, Indiana was the losingest college football team of all time. They were 2 years before Mendoza showed up there. They lost or they only won 3 games. Okay, so and in 2 years, he turns a basketball state basically to a football state. Had an undefeated season, the first undefeated season in college football history to win a national championship. They went 17-0 or 17 or 18-0 and won a national championship with no five-star athletes on the roster. So if you go back and look at what he did in Cal, and this is kind of what I like, because he's tried and true. He's taken his lumps, because when he was in Cal, he didn't have a lot to work with there in Cal, but he showed up every day. He put it all on the line, and was just trying to win. He was just trying to win ball games, right? So he took his lumps. Then he transferred over to Indiana, got with better coaching, got with better scheme that fits his skill set, and you've seen him take off because he got a lot better. And then, like I said, you've seen what he was able to do with a little bit more elevated talent there at Indiana, and better elevated coaching. So when you hear this stuff in the national media and you hear things being said about Fernando Mendoza from them, saying that he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that, the Raiders are not ready to take on Fernando Mendoza, or he's not going to elevate. I've heard this too. He's not going to elevate the team, right? He's not going to be like that Superman to where he has the athletic talent to be able to carry a team like a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Now they're putting Caleb Williams in that category or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The Joe Burrows. So he's going to need a lot around him to be able to be successful. This is what they're saying, right? That he's going to need so much, and the Raiders, don't have that because they're avoided so much of talent. They need pretty much an overhaul on both sides of the ball, right? So that's why they're saying that he's not going to pretty much succeed. But this is from some scouts, and this is basically his profile. This is from Scouts D. Strengths for Fernando Mendoza: high level timing and rhythm, passer who wins on anticipation, comfortable throwing into tight windows without putting the ball in harm's way, elite decision maker and processing ability who consistently stays ahead of the sticks, calm operator who keeps the offense on schedule and avoids self-inflicted damage. So that's his strengths, right? Wouldn't you want that in your quarterback? Like he's a winner, because we just talked about, his record in college. He's won at the highest level. He's accurate. He has an elite processor, so his decision making is elite. He stays calm in the pocket. He doesn't get rattled. He keeps the offense on schedule, and he avoids self-inflicted damage, meaning he doesn't turn the ball over. He'll take what the defense gives him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he has all of that, right? Does he have the strongest arm? No. Says here arm talent is good, not special. Again, that's why the national media is like, oh, he doesn't have the elite abilities because he doesn't have an elite arm. He can make all the throws and he can put the ball where he needs to put it because of his anticipation and his elite processor, because he knows where he wants to go with the ball. He knows where his outs is supposed to be, and he gets the ball to his playmakers. We know he's physical, right? So we've seen that in the national championship game, and the run that he made. You've seen that whenever he got busted in his mouth, the very first play against Ohio State, and he got back up, didn't blink. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing is that they look so much into the talent as far as the tangibles of the quarterbacks, right? The tangibles that they salivate over, like the tangibles for the quarterbacks, like Josh Allen's and the Patrick Mahomes and the Joe Burrows and the elites of the elite. They look at the height, right? They look at the weight. They look at the arm strength. They look at the mobility. They look at the release speed. Footwork quickness of can he get out of the pocket? Stuff like that. Well, he can move. He can get out of the pocket. He's not Lamar Jackson. You know what I'm saying? But he can get out of the pocket. He's what I'm saying, he can move like Sam Darnold or whatever, and avoid pressure and stuff like that. But you give me the intangibles where and this is where this kid is by far the best that I've seen coming out in a very, very long time. And what I mean by that is the leadership and character. He has the ability to inspire teammates. We've seen that. Act as an alpha. Unifying the team. The team basically went to war for him, and that's what he said whenever he did that. Whenever he made that run in the national championship game, he said that I was going to die on this field. I was going to put my body out there, and die on this field for my teammates, because I know my teammates is going to do that for me. They would do that for me. So, that's that leadership, character that he has. Poise and mental toughness, staying calm under pressure. I mean, Miami was coming at him every which way. He has, two top 10, top 15 bookends in Bain and Mesidor coming off the edge and was smacking him. You know what I'm saying? Like he was having to pick himself up off the ground pretty much every play. And he remained calm under pressure. He didn't make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? He was taking what the defense gave him and, getting them in the right play. Basically looking at the defense, processing the defense, and then calling the checks and calling, the protection and basically getting the ball where it needs to be. You know, the kid has processing and football IQ. You know, rapidly being able to read complex defenses. He said on when he was on the Pat McAfee show, and it stunned Pat McAfee that he had to stop him in the middle of his conversation and say, "Okay, stop, hold on, time out. Did you just say what I thought you said?" Or whatever. So what he said was Mendoza said that I think this was against Oregon and either Oregon or Ohio State, but I think it was Oregon. And he said that he looked at the defense, he saw what defense they were in, and then as he snapped the ball, they went to a totally different defense. And he said, as he was backpedaling, he said, "Oh, okay, you fooled me. Okay, I know what you're in. I know what you're going in." And he was able to get the ball to I think Cooper on like a back shoulder or something like that. But again, him being able to see what they were in pre-snap, post-snap, they go into a totally different defense, and he was able to identify that and then make quick decision and get the ball to his playmaker. Again, so processing football IQ, the ability to read complex defenses, make quick decisions, and possess street smarts that differ from raw intangibles. The it factor, competitiveness. He has the it factor, and he is competitive. That's why when you see him and when you see the plays that he makes, it's by all means necessary. He won't be denied. You know, he doesn't care about the stats. He doesn't care if he throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, or if he throws for 180, a touchdown, and they win the game. All he's saying is, did we win the game? Did I make the big plays, or did I make plays in crucial moments to give us the win? That's what he has. He's coachable. Coachability, the willingness to learn, adapt, and accept instruction. And he talked about Kurt Signetti and how he was tough on him. You know, even when they won, or he had a good play, or whatever. He said that Signetti was always like, "You ain't done nothing. That wasn't special. You could have been better." Or you could have did this instead of doing that. So he was always being, coached up, and never made to feel like, oh, you've made it, or you are special. Like, no, he coached him hard, and he was and he loved it. He said that I loved him coaching me that hard. Last thing, pocket presence, the instinctual, non-physical feel and pressure, and ability to maneuver with the pocket. He has that. So he has all of these things that a franchise quarterback, that you want in a franchise quarterback. But you got the national media out there, saying that he's not a number one pick, or the Raiders shouldn't take him because of the offensive line, right? But I do believe that we have about 115 mil to spend in free agency. So I do believe that the Raiders can go out and with Clint Kubiak and the scheme that he runs, the scheme that how he's able, or what he looks for and what he needs in to be successful in his scheme. Offensive line is a huge factor because he wants to run the ball, right? He wants to do outside zone runs. He wants to be able to play, off of the outside zone runs with bootlegs and RPOs and stuff like that, right? So offensive line is going to be a huge focus. Also, John Spatek coming from Tampa Bay. That's what he grew up on as a scout. Is building in the trenches on both sides of the ball. So he knows that that's what teams need to be successful. So I have full confidence that they're going to go into this draft focusing or going into this offseason, I'm sorry, focusing on fixing that offensive line. If they don't think that the offensive line needs that much of tinkering, and to me, I don't think that it really needs that much tinkering. There's a couple of positions that needs to be upgraded, but for the most part, we have a left tackle in Colton Miller. We have what could be our center in Jackson Powers Johnson, or if they don't think that he's a center, he can move to guard. But he's talented, right? And so, like for me, like say they go into free agency, and if they have to overpay, then overpay. I don't care, But say I'm just going to throw this example out there. They get Tyler Linderbaum, right? Which is the best center. He's 25, 26 years old. So he's young enough. Make him the center. Jackson Powers Johnson is the guard. Now you have, you got Caleb Rogers that can fit into the other guard spot. Now I do think that we probably need to upgrade our right tackle position if they can, like a Braden Smith in free agency. That would be perfect if we can get Braden Smith, right, as our right tackle. Then you have Jackson Powers Johnson as our right guard. You have Tyler Linderbaum as our center, and then you got Caleb Rogers as our left guard, and then you got Colton Miller as a left tackle, right? Going into the season, that would be phenomenal. But again, not getting off into that. We'll have I have a podcast, talking about the free agents and the draft or whatever. But just kind of give you an example, we have the second most cap space in the NFL. So we can go out and we can pretty much have the offensive line fixed even before we even get Fernando Mendoza with the first pick. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that could be already solidified. If not, then we can go into the draft and get whatever pieces we didn't get in free agency. But the point of this is that I don't know why they're so worried. Well, I do know why, because they know that they can see the writing on the wall. Trust me. Now that we got Kubiak, so we got a legitimate, head coach that has, the innovative play caller that he is, right, and his offensive scheme. We already have an elite tight end in Brock Bowers. We could have a elite running back in Ashton Genty, okay? And then we have the ability of Fernando Mendoza. The national media, they're scared because they know that the Raiders could possibly be back, right? But going in and saying that, one of the things that they were talking about, the mentally, wrecking this kid if they take him number one, because of, we're not going to be, basically, as of right now, if we didn't make any changes, they can wreck this kid because, the beating that he might take behind that offensive line or whatever, right? But they're not looking at the fact that this kid is built different. You know what I'm saying? He's built with the right stuff that I don't think that's going to rattle him at all. Like they were talking about, he can possibly be a bust. Well, a lot of the quarterbacks that back in the day, I mean, if you go back and look at some of the busts that was out there, just kind of give you some names. Josh Rosen, Ryan Leaf was popular because you look at Ryan Leaf back in the day. Is it going to be Ryan Leaf? Is it going to be Peyton Manning? Who's going to go number one? A lot of people had Ryan Leaf ahead of Peyton Manning. right? But he went to a team that absolutely wasn't ready for a quarterback, and it wrecked his mental toughness. That's what broke him down, and why he flamed out. Achilles Smith was the third pick in the draft back with the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I'm going back for, I'm an old head. I'm 51. So a lot of these names you're probably not going to know. But that, again, third pick in the draft, Cincinnati Bengals, that's what wrecked that kid, right? Again, I touched on Josh Rosen, immaturity and everything with Josh Rosen. Jory Harrington was a top 3 pick with the Detroit Lions. Again, the confidence and the mental aspect of the game crushed that kid. And one of my favorite quarterbacks, because I'm a Texas Longhorn fan, Vince Young. Vince Young, man, he had it all, but he had everything handed to him, right? He had everything, was given to him from an early age, as far as, his ability and his God-given talent that he had. No one told him no, or, no one, told him that he could do no wrong, because of, again, he wasn't coachable, because he always had everything, pretty much given to him, right? And then whenever the lack of confidence in a coach didn't want him, you know what I'm saying? And he just, he kind of flamed out, so there's several, quarterbacks, Heath Schuler, Rick Meyer. Again, that's going back into the early part of of why quarterbacks fail in the NFL. If you look at Sam Darnold, you look how Sam Darnold was done with the Jets, right? And he was a 20-year-old kid coming to the Jets in that market. They ate him up and spit him out. He was out there saying he's seeing ghosts, right? Then he goes to Carolina and really didn't get a shot there in Carolina, because once you have that stigma on you, or that bus label, it's hard to get out of that bus label. They're doing a lot better in the NFL now, and giving quarterbacks an opportunity to have a reclamation in their career. You know what I'm saying? Like, Sam Darnold had to go to San Francisco and get under Cal Shanahan and his tutelage, and actually learn and build up his confidence again. You know what I mean? And get him to where, because the ability was there, the talent was there. He was just broken down. You know what I'm saying? And so he got built back up by Cal Shanahan. Then he goes to Minnesota, gets under Kevin O'Connell, which is another disciple from the Cal Shanahan tree, and he puts together a 14-win season, playoff season with Minnesota. Minnesota lets him go because they drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round. So they went ahead and let him go, and then he goes to Seattle, gets under the tutelage of Clint Kubiak, wins another 14 games. The only quarterback, there's only 2 quarterbacks in the NFL history to have back-to-back 14-win seasons: Tom Brady and Sam Darnold. Go figure that, right? And wins the Super Bowl with Clint Kubiak, right? So that right there should bring a little confidence that, oh, okay, so we got Clint Kubiak. We got a quarterback that is coming out that has all of the intangibles, and intangibles, or that a quarterback needs to succeed in the NFL, and he will have the right teacher to bring him along to, what I'm saying, to help him be successful. And one of the last things that I want to talk about as far as the national media, right? and they're saying that we shouldn't take Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 pick. And I'm like, because they said that, they're not ready. They're not ready to win and stuff like that. We're not we're not putting wins, as a factor. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about building something sustainable. Okay. So what? We get Fernando Mendoza and we win 4 games. We win 5 games. All right. As long as we're building it the right way, we're getting the necessary pieces and it shows that we're different, that it looks different than it was last year. Because my God, last year as a fan, I've been a fan since '82. I was 8 years old. Okay. And I've had some rough seasons being a Raider fan, right? You gotta be built different to be a Raider fan. Trust me. And I can honestly say that last season was by far the worst season of being a Raider fan. The only good thing that came out of this, out of that bad season, was that we got the number 1 pick. And we got a chance to finally get our franchise quarterback. And we got a head coach. He's a first-time head coach, but I feel confident that he's the right head coach to lead us in the direction that we need to go and get us back on track to where we're dominant again. You know what I'm saying? But this is a process. This is not a quick rebuild as Pete Carroll tried to do last year. He tried to rebuild, or he said he was trying to rebuild and win at the same time. You can't do both. Can't do both. Now, as you're rebuilding and you win games, that's a plus. But not going into it expecting we got to win 10 games. We got to win 11 games. No, build it the right way. If the wins come, great. Just like this year, I believe that the New England Patriots was a year too early, right? They peaked. I mean, everything went right for them. Kudos to them. Kudos to Mike Vrabel, being the first year there with New England. Drake May's second year in New England, and the turnaround that they made. It was great, but going into it, no one had New England in the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? No one had New England winning or making the playoffs or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just because they seen the season that they had before, and then Mike Vrabel, as good as Mike Vrabel is, and not a lot of people was talking about them being a playoff team. Now they figured they were going to be improved, but they had the season that they had. Okay, great. To me, they were a year too early. As far as their progression. And if that happens to be us, then okay, I'll take that. But I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking for just consistency with this team. So, like I said, in short, don't listen to the outside noise. Okay, like Raider Nation. Fernando Mendoza is going to be a good quarterback. I mean, he has everything that we need in a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm not putting. I was sitting there talking to my cousins and my guys on my Raider thread. And matter of fact, shout out to my Raider family. Grumpy ass Mexican, what's up, Grump? El Basso Raider, what's up, EP? And always imitated but never can be duplicated. Your friendly neighborhood Raider man. What's up, Raider man? What's up, RM? So yeah, sitting there talking to these guys and talking to my cousin or whatever, early on in this process, I threw out Brady. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, man, I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing a lot of Brady as far as not really being athletic, not really having a strong arm, but being able to process and decipher defenses and get the ball where he needs to get the ball to. You know what I'm saying? Like the will to win, not being competitive. Don't making sure that you get the win by any means necessary, right? He has had a lot of those traits, right? And speaking of that, let's go back. Let's kind of like rewind a little bit. So they were talking about all these quarterbacks with these high end traits, right? Go back into your memory bank, Raider Nation, and I know it's going to be tough. I know it's going to be tough as far as because I know a lot of people, man, like when Tom Brady was playing, we hated Tom Brady, right? And we hated New England Patriots. But if you go back and you look at all the quarterbacks that was coming up in that era, Tom Brady was not talked about as one of the elite quarterbacks. Not until he started, winning Super Bowls or whatever, in the kind of the mid of his career. But early on, they labeled him as a game manager, right? That's literally what they labeled Tom Brady. He was a game manager. He didn't have the elite arm, right? He couldn't. He had no mobility. Mendoza has more mobility than Tom Brady at this point right now. He was the game manager. The Super Bowls and stuff that he won was all the defense, right? And then he, whatever they said that he progressed or whatever, and then he became, Brady. But you had all those quarterbacks that had the arm, that had the natural ability, that can move around and scramble and use his legs and all of that, right? But wow, everybody was sitting there, shitting on Tom Brady, right? And saying that he was this and he was whatever. And they were hyping up all those other quarterbacks. All Tom Brady was doing was being, cerebral, right? With his mind, because he knew, okay, I don't have the physical abilities that these other guys have, but they don't have what I have, right? They don't have my heart and they don't have my mind. They can't, they can't beat me because my game is being able to watch film and know what each and every player does on the field, right? And then once I know what they do, I can pick them apart. I know what defense is going to be, and I know how fast that linebacker is. I know how much time I have to get the ball where I need to get the ball to because I know how fast that linebacker is. I know if that linebacker is agile enough, you know what I'm saying? If or if that cornerback has the hips to turn and pivot and come back and make a play on the ball or whatever. So I know my back shoulder throw is going to be. I can get my back shoulder throw because I know he knew about every player because he won from his mind, and that's what Mendoza does, right? He wins from his mind. He wins from his intelligent, astute ability in his heart. So you give me that all day long in my quarterback, right? And he has a little bit mobility to where he can make plays with his legs if need be. So, in conclusion, Raider Nation, it's Fernando Mania, right? It's Fernando season. Let's put our arms around Fernando Mendoza, right? And and not get discouraged or not get upset at the national media because they're scared. They're scared that the Raiders are coming back, right? And they always say that the league is better when the Raiders are winning and it's good again, right? But you have some out there that they just absolutely don't want to see us coming, but we're coming, and it's scary. But anyways, all right, Raider Nation. I hope you guys love this video. Like I said, if you do, hit like and subscribe, and help your boy out. You know what I'm saying? Tell your friends, tell your family or whatever. Send this video to them. Let them peep it out. Again, all support from you guys, man. It would be much love. So again, hit the like and hit subscribe, and Raider Nation, you guys stay up. Next podcast is going to be breaking down the Raiders roster, who I think that we should keep, and then get into free agency, and then start breaking down the draft. All right.